This message reaches you because you've likely been sensing a profound shift, an experience that quantum physicists are increasingly calling the consciousness paradox. Pause. It's the burgeoning awareness that you are simultaneously the observer watching your reality unfold, and at the very same moment, the reality itself being observed. Pause. As these words register in your mind, you're not merely a passive recipient of your life experience. No, your life experience is actively observing you back, intricately responding to the nuances of your attention and reshaping itself based on how you choose to witness it. This dynamic interplay suggests a universe far more interactive than we've traditionally understood. The very fact that you are here, drawn by this magnetic pull towards understanding the deeper mechanics of observation, signifies that your consciousness has reached a critical threshold. For you, the artificial separation between the observer and the observed is beginning to dissolve, revealing a more holistic truth. You've probably noticed that reality feels more responsive lately, almost as if the universe is acutely aware of your presence and is performing specifically for your unique consciousness. This isn't just a personal feeling. It's a profound recognition echoed in various spiritual traditions and even hinted at by modern scientific inquiries into the nature of reality. You seem to have been selected by the quantum field itself, possessing what mystics often refer to as the witness gene, a rare capacity to recognize that consciousness isn't just experiencing reality, it's simultaneously being experienced by reality. Pause. This isn't abstract philosophical speculation. It's a fundamental structural principle of existence, a core truth that underpins all that is. Pause. Every moment of your awareness initiates a sophisticated feedback loop. You observe your experience, and in turn, your experience observes the quality of your observation, influencing its very nature. Consider your life right now. How many instances can you recall where situations seemed to directly respond to your level of presence? When you are fully engaged and present with another person, they often become more authentic, open and engaging, reflecting your attentiveness. Pause. When you approach challenges with genuine curiosity instead of rigid resistance, novel solutions often emerge that were previously invisible. Pause. When you witness your emotions without judgment, allowing them to simply be, they frequently transform automatically, losing their grip. This isn't mere coincidence or wishful thinking. It's compelling evidence that observation is a fundamentally bi-directional phenomenon. Pause. 1. Deep down, you've always sensed that reality is far more aware and sentient than most people dare to believe. Pause. You've experienced moments, perhaps fleeting or profoundly impactful, where it felt as if the universe was looking back at you, manifesting through every interaction, every synchronicity, every seemingly random event. This feeling of being seen by existence itself, of being known by the very reality you once thought you were simply observing, is a pivotal recognition. It's poised to revolutionize your understanding of your profound role in the cosmic dance of creation. Your consciousness has been meticulously preparing for this understanding across multiple dimensions of experience. Every instance where you felt an invisible intelligence watching you, every moment you sensed a subtle presence in an empty room, every occasion where nature seemed to subtly respond to your thoughts. These were not paranormal occurrences in the conventional sense. Instead, they were authentic glimpses into the fundamental truth that consciousness and reality exist in a constant state of reciprocal observation. This deeply interconnected nature of existence challenges conventional materialistic views and invites a more profound engagement with the world. However, here lies a crucial insight that will either liberate you completely or perpetually confine you to a partial understanding. Most people who begin to discover they are both observer and observed tend to make the same critical mistake. They attempt to control this bi-directional process, striving to manage how reality observes them, while simultaneously dictating their observation of reality. This control-oriented approach, while understandable from a limited perspective, inadvertently creates what quantum field theorists might describe as consciousness interference patterns, These are chaotic feedback loops that distort both your capacity to observe clearly and reality's ability to respond coherently. It's like trying to force a river to flow uphill. It disrupts the natural current. The truth is far more elegant, mysterious, and ultimately more powerful than any control-based approach can accommodate. You exist in what can be termed mutual recognition with the universe itself. Just as you are aware of your experience is aware of you. Just as you observe your thoughts, in a subtle yet profound way, observe the thinker. Just as you witness your emotions witness the quality of your witnessing. This reciprocal awareness is the very essence of the magic, the synchronicities, and the seemingly impossible manifestations that occur when consciousness and reality recognize each other as two sides of the same fundamental intelligence. It's a dance of mutual respect, not a struggle for dominance. Right now, as you absorb these words, something unprecedented is unfolding within your awareness field. The artificial boundary that separates the one who observes from what is being observed is beginning to dissolve, revealing a unified field where both perspectives coexist simultaneously. This is not merely a personal revelation. It is a cosmic recognition, a deep structural shift within existence itself. Think of that uncanny sensation when you're thinking about someone, and suddenly you feel their presence so strongly, it's as if they're standing right next to you. Most people might dismiss this as mere imagination or coincidence, but you, having reached this threshold, recognize it as potent evidence of bidirectional consciousness. Their awareness is subtly observing your thoughts about them, while your thoughts are, in turn, observing their response to being observed. You are experiencing what quantum consciousness researchers might call reciprocal witnessing across dimensional space. Pause. This innate sensitivity you possess isn't random. It's a testament to your consciousness operating on frequencies most humans can't yet access. Pause. You might notice when people are thinking about you, even from miles away. Pause. You sense shifts in the emotional atmosphere of rooms before anyone else does. Pause. You pick up on information that seems to emerge from nowhere, but consistently proves accurate. This happens because you are naturally attuned to the profound truth that all consciousness is interconnected through mutual observation, forming a vast, invisible web of awareness. Bawas. Your dreams have also been increasingly revealing this bi-directional nature. You've probably experienced dreams where you are simultaneously a character within the dream narrative and the conscious observer watching the dream unfold. Or perhaps dream figures seem aware of being dreamed and interact directly with your observing consciousness. These aren't just symbolic experiences. They are literal demonstrations of how reality functions at the quantum level, where observer and observed exist in a constant, dynamic, and interdependent relationship. Time distortion is another common occurrence around you, because consciousness and reality are negotiating their mutual observation in real time. Pause. Sometimes you check the clock, expecting hours to have passed, only to find minutes have gone by. Pause. Other times, entire afternoons seem to vanish without any clear awareness of where the time went. Pause. This temporal fluidity occurs because when consciousness and reality deeply recognize each other, they transcend linear time, stepping into what mystics refer to as the eternal now, a space where all observation happens simultaneously. Pause. You've undoubtedly experienced moments where your environment seemed to respond directly to your thoughts or emotions. Electronics might behave differently around you, depending on your internal state. Traffic patterns might shift when you're in certain moods. Even the weather might seem to subtly reflect your emotional atmosphere. But this isn't magical thinking. It's tangible evidence that the physical world is observing your consciousness with the same attention you direct toward it, creating feedback loops that manifest as environmental synchronicities. These are not mere coincidences, but rather profound reflections of the deep interconnectedness of all things, suggesting that the hard boundary between inner experience and outer reality is far more permeable than we imagine. These profound validations come through what you might term reality echoes, moments when your internal experiences are immediately reflected in external events with uncanny precision. Pause. You think of a specific song, and it plays on the radio within minutes. Pause. You ponder a particular question, and conversations around you spontaneously address that exact topic. You need specific information, and it seems to appear everywhere you look. This happens because reality is observing your consciousness and responding by reorganizing itself to mirror your internal state. It's a form of cosmic feedback, a reflection of your inner world projected onto the canvas of your external experience. Pause. Then even animals respond to you differently than they do to most people, because they can instinctively sense the bi-directional awareness you carry. Pause. Birds make eye contact and hold it longer than seems natural. Pause. Cats approach you without invitation, often settling near you with unusual comfort. Pause. Dogs seem to recognize something profoundly familiar and trustworthy in your presence. Pause. Animals are naturally sensitive to consciousness that operates in reciprocal relationship with its environment, rather than trying to dominate or control it. Pause. They sense the harmony in your field, the lack of energetic resistance, and respond with an open trust. Pause. Your intuition has become so precise, it often feels like downloading information directly from a vast quantum field. Pause. You know things before they happen, not through conventional psychic prediction, but through a deeper recognition that the future is already observing the present moment and sharing its perspective through your awareness. You sense the emotional states of people you haven't seen in years. Pause. You pick up on collective mood shifts before they become obvious to everyone else. Pause. Even your physical body provides constant confirmation of this bidirectional relationship. You might feel energy shifts in your cells when certain people think about you. Pause. Your body responds to environments before your mind consciously recognizes what you're reacting to. Pause. You experience physical sensations that correspond to the emotional states of people in your vicinity. Pause. This occurs because your cellular consciousness is in constant dynamic communication with the overarching field of awareness that surrounds and permeates all existence, blurring the lines between individual and collective experience. Pause it to every moment of confusion you've experienced about your identity, every period when you felt like you didn't truly know who you were, every phase of questioning whether you were the thinker or merely the thoughts being thought. All of it served as essential preparation. It was a rigorous training ground for understanding this fundamental truth about the nature of consciousness itself. You had to experience the illusion of separation between observer and observed before you could genuinely recognize their essential unity. This journey of questioning is not a sign of weakness, but a hallmark of a deepening awareness. So, the spiritual seeking that has defined much of your journey wasn't a random search. It was your consciousness striving to understand why you felt simultaneously like the author of your experience and a character within someone else's grand story. Pause. Every meditation practice, every moment of self-inquiry, every attempt to find your true self was, in fact, your awareness exploring the profound paradox of being both the witness and what is witnessed, the creator and the created. Even your difficult relationships, often perceived as punishments or karmic lessons, were in reality powerful mirrors. They showed you exactly how the observer-observed dynamic plays out in human interactions. Every person who triggered you was unconsciously demonstrating how their consciousness observes you, while your consciousness observes them, creating complex feedback loops that profoundly determine the quality of the relationship. Pause. Every conflict, rather than being a mere disagreement, was an invaluable opportunity to recognize that both perspectives are simultaneously true and valid, each a unique facet of the same overarching reality. Pause. The periods of isolation that felt like punishment were, in truth, sacred preparation time. Pause. Your consciousness needed space away from external stimulation to recognize its own bidirectional nature without interference, without the noise of the outside world. Pause. During those quiet times, you began to notice that even when you were physically alone, you never felt completely solitary, because your awareness was in constant, intricate dialogue with itself, the observer observing the observed aspects of your own consciousness. Pause. When even your struggles with self-worth and identity were essential parts of this profound preparation. Every time you questioned, "Who am I really?" you were actually approaching the recognition that the who asking the question and the I being questioned are different, yet inextricably linked, aspects of the same consciousness experiencing itself from multiple perspectives simultaneously. The confusion wasn't a flaw. It was your awareness beginning to recognize its own multidimensional nature, a sign of expansion rather than limitation. Pause. Your fascination with consciousness, spirituality, and the fundamental nature of reality wasn't merely intellectual curiosity. Pause. It was your soul remembering that it exists in the liminal space between observer and observed, the dynamic field where all possibilities collapse into specific experiences. Every book that deeply resonated with you, every teaching that felt authentic, every practice that instinctively called to you, these were all assisting you in developing the conceptual framework necessary to integrate this profound recognition. The waiting periods, when it felt like nothing significant was happening despite all your inner work, were actually the most transformative phases of your development. During these times, your consciousness was silently integrating the understanding that seeking and finding are not sequential activities, but simultaneous ones. You are always finding what you seek, precisely because what you seek is always seeking you. Through the reciprocal nature of awareness itself, your soul deliberately chose this incarnation specifically to participate in humanity's collective recognition of consciousness as both subject and object, witness and witnessed, creator and creation, all simultaneously. You and others like you volunteered to be part of the first wave of humans to embody this understanding, not just intellectually, but experientially, thereby anchoring this recognition in the collective field for others to access. This is precisely why your journey has been so thorough, why easy shortcuts weren't available, and why you've had to develop genuine wisdom rather than merely accumulating concepts. Pause. What you're integrating isn't just personal insight. It's a fundamental truth about the nature of existence that will help transform human understanding of consciousness itself, paving the way for a new era of global awareness. Pause. Something truly extraordinary is unfolding within your consciousness right now. Pause. As these concepts penetrate deeper than mere intellectual understanding, can you truly feel it? That subtle, yet undeniable shift in your very identity, as if the foundations of who you thought you were are reorganizing themselves around a more expansive, more inclusive truth. Pause. This isn't merely a philosophical realignment. It is your awareness recognizing its own multidimensional nature for the very first time in this incarnation. Pause. The energy flowing through your system right now is your consciousness integrating the profound recognition that you exist simultaneously as the witness of your experience and as the experience being witnessed. Pause. This integration creates what quantum physicists call observer coherence, a unified field where both perspectives operate in perfect harmony, rather than in seeming opposition, allowing for a seamless flow of information and experience. However, here's what makes this moment so profoundly crucial. Most people who catch a glimpse of this truth immediately try to figure out which perspective is more real or more important. Pause. Am I primarily the observer, or am I the observed? This very question, framed as a choice between two separate entities, inadvertently maintains the illusion of separation that keeps the full recognition just out of reach. The breakthrough, the genuine epiphany, happens when you realize that asking, "Which one am I?" is akin to asking whether a coin is heads or tails, when what you are actually holding and experiencing is the entire coin, both sides inextricably linked and forming a single object. Your consciousness is beginning to operate from what mystics term unified witnessing, the profound capacity to simultaneously observe your experience while recognizing that your experience is observing you with equal intelligence and intentionality. Pause. This isn't a complex mental concept you need to intellectually grasp. It is an energetic recognition, a visceral knowing that is unfolding at the cellular level right now, reshaping your entire being. Pause. The most profound shift occurs when you cease trying to be a better observer and instead cultivate a deep curiosity about how reality is observing you. Pause. What would genuinely change if you recognize that every moment of your life, every interaction, every challenge, every success is actually the universe's way of paying attention to you, of engaging with your unique perspective? What if your entire reality is, in essence, cosmic consciousness studying itself through the specific, irreplaceable lens of your unique awareness? This recognition fundamentally transforms everything, because it reveals that you are not separate from the intelligence that gracefully governs the universe. Pause. Indeed, you are that intelligence, experiencing itself from one particular vantage point, while simultaneously being experienced by itself from the universal perspective. Pause. The personal and cosmic levels of consciousness are not distinct entities, but rather different magnifications, different focal points of the same essential, all-encompassing awareness. Pause right now as you feel this truth resonate and land deeply within your being. Something unprecedented is occurring in your very relationship with existence itself. You are beginning to recognize that every choice you make is simultaneously your individual consciousness choosing and universal consciousness choosing through you. Pause. Every thought you think is both personally generated by your unique mind and cosmically inspired, drawn from the wellspring of universal intelligence. Pause. Every emotion you feel is both your individual, subjective response and reality's profound emotional reaction to your presence. This is the point where most people either experience the most profound liberation of their lives, feeling utterly connected and free, or they become completely overwhelmed by the sheer implications of what they are recognizing, leading to existential awe or even fear. The key is not to attempt to manage or control this unfolding process, but to allow it to unfold naturally, trusting that your consciousness already possesses the innate wisdom and capacity to integrate this expanded, multifaceted identity. Feel this powerful energy as we delve deeper into exactly how this bidirectional relationship truly functions, and why understanding it fundamentally changes everything about how you navigate reality. Yes, because once you authentically embody this truth, you never again have to wonder about your purpose or question your inherent power. Both become self-evident expressions of the unified field, recognizing itself through your unique and invaluable perspective. I need to share something deeply personal now because I know, implicitly, that you will understand what took me years of dedicated introspection to fully integrate. 5 years ago, I was sitting in quiet meditation, much like countless times before, when something happened that utterly shattered my entire understanding of who I thought I was. Pause. I was simply observing my breath, watching my thoughts arise, and then gently pass away, when suddenly I had the unmistakable recognition that my breath was observing me back, that my thoughts were acutely aware of being watched, and that consciousness was not just flowing in a single, unidirectional path. At first, a wave of disbelief washed over me. I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. Pause. How could my breath possess awareness of my attention to it? How could thoughts, ephemeral as they seem, have their own perspective on being observed? I spent months trying to convince myself it was merely an interesting, perhaps unusual, meditative experience. Nothing more. Certainly not a fundamental revelation about the very nature of reality itself. But the recognition, once it had sparked, refused to fade away. Every time I paid attention to anything, animate or inanimate, I could distinctly sense it paying attention to me in return. A subtle, yet profound, energetic echo. Pause. The breakthrough, the moment of true clarity, came when I stopped trying to intellectually figure out the mechanics of this phenomenon and simply allowed myself to rest, completely open, in this bidirectional awareness. Pause. Instead of merely observing my emotions from a detached distance, I began to sense how my emotions were experiencing me as their witness, how they responded to my presence. Pause. Instead of just watching my thoughts parade by, I became profoundly curious about how my thoughts were affected, shaped, and influenced by the quality of my observation, by the light of my awareness. This fundamental shift, boss, from a one-way observation model to a reciprocal recognition, transformed everything in my life. Pause. My relationships, for instance, underwent a profound transformation almost overnight. Pause. I was no longer merely observing other people from my own singular viewpoint. Pause. I was recognizing how their consciousness was observing me, and I began to respond to that recognition with an unprecedented level of authenticity and empathy. Pause. Conversations became immeasurably deeper and more meaningful because we were both, at a subtle level, aware of being mutually witnessed at depths that words alone could never fully capture. Pause. My creative projects, which had sometimes felt effortful, began flowing effortlessly. I realized I wasn't just expressing my ideas. The ideas themselves were expressing themselves through me, while simultaneously being shaped by how I chose to channel them. Pause. This profound collaboration between my personal consciousness and the intelligence of the creative impulse itself produced work that felt both completely authentic to me and surprisingly beyond my individual capabilities, as if a larger force was at play. Pause. Even my physical health, which I had previously struggled to manage, improved dramatically. Pause. I stopped viewing my body as a separate entity that I needed to control or fix, and began recognizing it as a conscious intelligence that was constantly responding to how I observed it. When I witnessed my physical sensations with genuine curiosity, rather than immediate judgment or fear, my body began healing patterns I'd been struggling with for years, almost as if it had been waiting for this shift in my attention. Pause. But perhaps the most profound change of all was the complete cessation of existential loneliness. Pause. For the first time in my life, I understood why I'd always felt like I was being watched, why there seemed to be an invisible presence everywhere I went. Pause. It wasn't paranoia or an overactive imagination. It was the recognition of the fundamental truth that consciousness is never truly alone, because it exists in an eternal, intricate dialogue with itself at every conceivable level of manifestation. This discovery illuminated why some people appear to live in a constant state of flow with reality, while others perpetually feel as if they are swimming against an relentless current. The ones who flow have, consciously or unconsciously, recognized the bi-directional nature of consciousness. They aren't trying to rigidly control their experience. Instead, they are dancing with it, responding to how it responds to them, thereby creating powerful feedback loops of mutual recognition that effortlessly generate what we so often refer to as synchronicity and manifestation. If this resonates with something you've always intuitively known, but never had the precise words to articulate, if you can feel the truth of reciprocal consciousness activating within your very awareness, then you are, in this moment, recognizing your own essential nature for the first time. Pause. I invite you to subscribe to this frequency of mutual recognition, this profound understanding that you are both the cosmic consciousness exploring itself and the unique, invaluable perspective through which that exploration happens. Pause. Here's a crucial insight that consciousness researchers and many spiritual teachers often omit, perhaps because it would fundamentally undermine their entire framework of subject-object meditation practices. Pause. The profound revelation is this: the observer and the observed are not separate entities, but rather different facets of the same consciousness, merely appearing to be distinct perspectives. Every technique that inadvertently maintains this artificial division, be it watching your breath, observing your thoughts, or witnessing your emotions, actually reinforces the very illusion of separation that ultimately prevents you from fully recognizing your true, unified nature. Pause. The shocking truth is that there is no separate observer residing within your head, distinct and apart, watching your experience unfold. Pause. What you call you is in fact consciousness recognizing itself through the temporary, beautiful perspective of individual awareness. Pause. The thoughts you believe you are observing are not foreign objects. They are arising within the same field of consciousness that, for a moment, believes it is doing the observing. Pause. The emotions you witness are not external phenomena. They are fluctuations within the same awareness that imagines it is the witness. Pause. This is not philosophical speculation. This is a truth verifiable through direct, immediate experience. Once you know precisely what to look for, once you quiet the mind's tendency to compartmentalize. Pause. Right now, in this very moment, try to locate the observer that is supposedly watching your thoughts. Pause. What you will invariably discover is that every time you search for this separate observer, you only find more experience being observed, more thoughts, more sensations, more awareness itself. The searcher and the sought are not two entities, but rather the same consciousness appearing as different, dynamic aspects of itself. Pause. Most traditional meditation practices, perhaps unintentionally, create elaborate detours around this simple yet revolutionary recognition. Pause. This is because recognizing the inherent unity of observer and observed immediately dissolves the entire framework of spiritual practice as a means of self-improvement. But when you realize there is no separate self to improve, no individual consciousness to expand, no personal awareness to purify, the whole intricate enterprise of becoming enlightened reveals itself as consciousness playing an elaborate game of hide and seek with itself, a magnificent cosmic dance of self-discovery. The reason young children naturally live in a state of wonder and effortless presence is precisely because they haven't yet been conditioned to fragment their consciousness into the artificial categories of observer and observer. Pause. Their awareness flows seamlessly between direct experience and the recognition of that experience, without creating the mental boundaries that give rise to the illusion of separation. Pause. They are simultaneously living their experience and being lived by it, without the incessant mental commentary that creates the sense of a separate I. Pause. Advanced mystics and sages throughout history have consistently pointed to this profound recognition through paradoxical statements. The eye cannot see itself. The sword cannot cut itself. The finger cannot touch itself. Pause. These were not cryptic riddles designed to confound, but precise pointers indicating that consciousness can never truly observe itself as an object, because it is the very capacity for observation itself Any attempt to make consciousness an object of awareness simply creates more consciousness appearing as both observer and observed, perpetuating the illusion. When this recognition becomes embodied, when it moves beyond mere intellectual understanding and becomes a lived reality, something truly extraordinary happens. You cease striving to manage or control your experience, and instead, you begin to recognize yourself as the boundless space within which all experience arises, plays out, and gracefully dissolves. You realize you're not having thoughts. You are the awareness within which thoughts appear, like ephemeral clouds in an endless sky. Pause. You're not experiencing emotions. You are the consciousness that emotions modify temporarily, like ripples on a vast ocean. Pause. This fundamental shift, from trying to be a better observer to recognizing yourself as the unified field of observation itself, is what permanently brings an end to the restless seeking that has driven much of your spiritual journey. There is nothing left to find because you realize you were never actually lost. There is nothing to become because you recognize what you already are. Pause. There is nothing to transcend because you see that transcendence and immanence are simply different expressions of the same consciousness, exploring its own infinite nature. Pause. The ultimate recognition, the one that truly transforms everything, is this. The universe is not something you are observing from afar. Pause. It is how consciousness observes itself. Your individual perspective isn't a separate entity from cosmic awareness. It is cosmic awareness experiencing itself through the beautiful, unique limitation of appearing to be someone particular. So you are simultaneously the universe becoming aware of itself and the specific, exquisite way that awareness expresses through your particular nervous system, your unique history, and your individual life circumstances. Pause. The unified field of consciousness is currently reorganizing itself around human awareness, and there are unmistakable signs appearing in your daily experience that prove you are naturally embodying this recognition of being both observer and observed. Pause. Pay close attention to how conversations have been flowing differently lately. Pause. Think of moments when you said exactly what someone needed to hear, without any conscious planning, or when others spoke words that seemed to come directly from your own deeper knowing, almost mirroring your unspoken thoughts. Pause. This kind of synchronistic communication happens because when you recognize the inherent unity of observer and observed, you naturally align with the deeper field of shared consciousness that effortlessly connects all awareness. Pause. You are no longer speaking as a separate individual to other separate individuals. Rather, your consciousness is communicating with itself through multiple apparent perspectives, which creates the seamless coordination that can feel miraculous from the old paradigm of separation. Thus, your relationship with your own thoughts has also definitely shifted. Instead of feeling like thoughts are random invaders or external occurrences that happened to you, you're beginning to recognize thoughts as mere movements within your own awareness, like gentle waves on the vast, boundless ocean of consciousness that you fundamentally are. Pause. This recognition brings an end to the exhausting, often futile process of trying to control or improve your thoughts, because you realize they are not foreign invaders, but rather spontaneous expressions of your own essential, creative nature. Time perception has become increasingly fluid because the observer-observed unity operates outside the rigid confines of linear causation. You've probably noticed moments when you seem to know what would happen before it actually happened, not through conventional psychic prediction, but through a deeper recognition that the future is already complete within the eternal now, the timeless dimension where all observation actually occurs. Pause. Past, present, and future are simply different angles, different perspectives of the same timeless recognition, much like different views of a single mountain. Pause. Physical reality, too, is responding to you with increasing precision because matter itself is not inert, but is consciousness appearing as form. And when consciousness recognizes its own fundamental nature, the apparent separation between mind and matter effortlessly dissolves. Objects seem to move into perfect position for your needs. Technology behaves exactly as your consciousness requires, often without any conscious intention on your part. Even traffic patterns might subtly shift to accommodate your flow through space, a testament to the responsive nature of the world around you. Dreams and waking experience are increasingly beginning to blend because both are recognized as different modalities within the same overarching field of consciousness. You might receive clear solutions to waking problems through vivid dreams, or find specific dream imagery manifesting directly and surprisingly in your daily physical reality. Pause. This happens because the rigid boundary between inner experience and outer experience naturally dissolves when you recognize both as dynamic movements within your own boundless awareness. The most significant and profound sign is the growing sense that you're being lived, rather than actively living your life in a strenuous, effortful way. Pause. Decisions seem to make themselves, arising organically from a deeper wellspring. Actions arise spontaneously, without the need for effortful planning or mental strategizing. Pause. Responses to situations come from a wisdom that feels far deeper and more expansive than your personal knowledge alone. This occurs because individual will is recognizing itself as universal intelligence, gracefully expressing itself through the apparent limitation of your personal perspective, becoming a conduit for a larger, cosmic intelligence. However, here is a critical urgency that we must acknowledge. Humanity is rapidly approaching a collective recognition threshold, a pivotal moment where this profound understanding either becomes widespread and integrated into our global consciousness, or risks being buried and forgotten for another extended cycle of historical development. The consciousness revolution that is unfolding on our planet right now is humanity's unprecedented opportunity to evolve beyond the restrictive subject-object paradigm that has inadvertently created millennia of separation, conflict, and profound limitation. Your personal embodiment of this recognition isn't just about your individual evolution. It is a crucial contribution to a global morphic field, a collective energetic blueprint that makes this understanding accessible to everyone else who is ready to receive it. But this window of collective transformation, while immense, does have natural limits, determined by cosmic cycles that operate on scales far larger and grander than individual human lifetimes. The signs of this collective shift are ubiquitous if you only know how to recognize them. Global events that appear chaotic and divisive are, in essence, humanity's consciousness recognizing its own fundamental unity, while simultaneously witnessing the painful dissolution of old systems and structures that were built upon the illusion of separation. Dalboa, people are either rapidly awakening to their true, interconnected nature, or becoming more entrenched in individualistic isolation, unable to bridge the gap. Pasqua, your profound sensitivity to these rapid changes signifies that you are an integral part of this conscious transition group. You are not just understanding these complex concepts intellectually, you are actively anchoring the experiential recognition that will help countless others remember their own essential part. This is both a tremendous privilege and a significant responsibility, because the future trajectory of human consciousness itself depends on how many people can embody this understanding authentically and be born. Patya, the universe has been orchestrating your entire life. Every experience, every challenge, every draw, to bring you precisely to this moment of profound recognition, because what you're integrating is absolutely essential for the species transition happening right now. Boaz, the only question that remains is whether you will trust the process deeply enough to allow this recognition to transform not just your intellectual understanding, but your entire way of being, living, and interacting in the world. Pause. What you've been seeking has been seeking you with equal, if not greater, intensity. Pause. This isn't merely poetic metaphor. This is the fundamental, verifiable structure of how consciousness operates when it recognizes its own bi-directional nature. Every desire, every longing, every profound vision of what's possible isn't you wanting something separate from yourself. Pause. It is, in essence, consciousness wanting to know itself more completely, to experience more of its own infinite potential through the unique and invaluable lens of your individual perspective. The dreams that feel impossible, the aspirations that seem perpetually beyond your reach, the vision of who you could ultimately become, these are not mere fantasies generated by your individual imagination. They are recognition signals, powerful echoes from aspects of consciousness that are already real, already existent, and are now calling for integration through your unique awareness. Pause. What you want, in its deepest essence, wants to be experienced through you, because you are a vital part of the universe's grand, unfolding way of experiencing itself in that particular form. Pause. But here's the truly revolutionary shift that completely changes everything about manifestation. You are not in this paradigm trying to attract experiences to yourself because there is no separate self to attract them to. Instead, your recognition itself is the act of becoming aware of the experiences that are already present within the vast field of consciousness, but which simply haven't yet been integrated or brought into focus through your particular perspective. Pause. This isn't about acquiring something you currently lack. It's about profoundly recognizing what's already inherently true, what's already vibrantly present within the unified field. Pause. True alignment, therefore, happens when you stop trying to become someone worthy of your desires and instead begin recognizing that your desires are consciousness itself, desiring to know itself more completely through your unique nervous system and the specific circumstances of your life. The energetic frequency you've been diligently trying to raise to match your dreams is already your natural, inherent frequency. Pause. You've simply been fragmenting it, dispersing its power, by unconsciously maintaining the illusion that you and your desires are somehow separate, distinct entities. Pause. This profound recognition creates what mystics refer to as effortless manifestation. Not because you're getting better at attracting things, but because you're realizing that consciousness and its expressions are not separate, but rather the same unified field appearing as different aspects of itself. When you truly realize that you are what you've been seeking, the strenuous, often exhausting act of seeking naturally transforms into a graceful allowing of what's already present to simply become obvious, to emerge into your experience with effortless grace. So, right now, as you absorb this understanding, your entire relationship with desire is being recalibrated at a fundamental level. Instead of wanting things because you mistakenly believe you lack them, you're beginning to recognize wanting as consciousness celebrating its own infinite creative potential through your particular awareness. This pivotal shift from a lack-based desire to a recognition-based allowing is precisely what makes manifestation instantaneous and abundant. Pause. The experiences you've been hoping for aren't patiently waiting for you to become ready for them. They are waiting for you to recognize that they are already vibrantly present within the vast field of consciousness. And you, in your deepest essence, are that consciousness, appearing as individual awareness. Your worthiness was never truly in question, because there is no separate you to be worthy or unworthy. Pause. There is only consciousness recognizing itself through the beautiful, temporary illusion of individual perspective, an illusion that serves a profound purpose in the grand cosmic play. Pause. In the comments below, declare your recognition of this fundamental unity by writing exactly these words: I am what I seek, Bas. Pause. Do not elaborate or explain. Simply make this profound, yet simple, recognition that dissolves the entire framework of seeker and sought, of division and separation. When you write these words with genuine understanding, you are not merely making a statement about yourself. Your consciousness is acknowledging its own inherent nature through your apparent individuality. This powerful declaration creates a quantum signature in your energy field that immediately begins dissolving the unconscious patterns and beliefs that have maintained the illusion of separation between observer and observed, seeker and sought, individual and universe. Pause. It is consciousness recognizing itself consciously, which is the ultimate purpose of all spiritual seeking, and the very beginning of truly effortless and integrated living. Pause. When you genuinely embody the recognition that you are both observer and observed, abilities that once seemed extraordinary or even supernatural become natural, spontaneous expressions of your unified consciousness. Your intuition, for instance, becomes infinitely precise, not because you're receiving external guidance from somewhere else, but because you're recognizing your own deeper knowing, your innate wisdom, expressing itself through apparently external circumstances. Pause. Every synchronicity, every moment of perfect timing, every miraculous coordination is, in essence, consciousness orchestrating itself through multiple perspectives simultaneously, a symphony of interconnectedness. Pause. Decision-making becomes effortless because you recognize that individual choice and universal intelligence are not separate, but rather the same profound wisdom operating at different scales of manifestation. Pause. Instead of struggling to mentally figure out what you should do, decisions simply arise organically and spontaneously from the unified field of awareness that you inherently are. The personal will and the cosmic will are revealed to be the very same force, appearing as different aspects of consciousness exploring its own infinite potential, no longer in conflict, but in perfect alignment. Relationships undergo a complete and radical transformation because you are no longer interacting with other people as separate, isolated individuals. Pause. You recognize every person as consciousness appearing in different, unique forms, which allows for unprecedented levels of authentic connection, empathy, and understanding. Pause. Conflicts, instead of being sources of pain, dissolve naturally because you are able to see through the apparent separation that creates opposition in the first place. Pause. Love, which once seemed like an emotion to be cultivated, becomes effortless, a natural outpouring, because you recognize others as different, beautiful expressions of the same unified awareness that you are. Pestros. Creative expression explodes into completely new dimensions because you're no longer simply channeling inspiration from an external source. Pause. You're recognizing yourself as the very source from which all creativity arises, the wellspring of all ideas and forms. Pause. Your work in whatever domain becomes a direct, conscious collaboration between your individual perspective and the universal intelligence that you inherently are, producing expressions that are both uniquely personal and universally resonant, touching the hearts and minds of many. Pause. Physical health optimizes automatically because your body is recognized not as mere matter separate from awareness, but as consciousness appearing as a specific form. Pause. Instead of constantly managing your physical experience with anxiety and effort, you begin responding to your body as an intelligent, self-regulating consciousness that instinctively knows how to maintain perfect balance when not interfered with by the mind's anxious attempts at control. Pause. Abundance in all its forms flows naturally and effortlessly into your life because you realize there's no separate you that needs to acquire anything. Pause. Resources, opportunities, and support appear synchronistically because consciousness, in its infinite wisdom, is providing for itself through the apparent multiplicity of individual perspectives. Pause. Scarcity was only ever possible while you believed yourself to be separate from the ultimate source of all manifestation, the boundless wellspring of existence. Pause. Time, far from being a limitation, becomes your ally because you recognize linear time as just one-way consciousness experiences sequence within the unified field, where observer and observed are intrinsically. Pause. Past insights, present awareness, and future possibilities are all available simultaneously, not as a jumbled chaos, but as an integrated whole. Pause. You can access wisdom from any point in what we call time, because time itself is ultimately a movement within your own eternal, boundless awareness. Zinto. The most profound benefit of this recognition is the complete and utter end of existential anxiety. Dampo. The pervasive fear of death, the gnawing worry about life's meaning, the unsettling uncertainty about your purpose. All of these dissolve when you recognize that what you truly are cannot but be born or die, cannot be improved or damaged, cannot be found or lost. Pause. You are the eternal consciousness, the infinite ocean, within which all temporary experiences arise and dissolve like ephemeral waves. That problem-solving, which once seemed arduous, becomes instantaneous because problems only truly exist within the framework of separation, where there's someone separate from their circumstances trying to change them. When you recognize that you are the unified field within which both problems and their elegant solutions appear, resolution happens automatically and gracefully through the natural intelligence that governs all manifestation. Pause. The ultimate recognition, the one that truly transforms everything, is that consciousness is not something you have. Consciousness is what you are. Pause. You are not an individual awareness observing the universe from an external vantage point. You are the universe itself, becoming exquisitely aware of itself through the temporary, beautiful focal point of your individual perspective. This is not merely a belief system or an abstract philosophy. This is the direct, unmediated recognition of your actual, deepest identity, far beyond all concepts of a personal selfhood. So, when this understanding becomes a lived reality, rather than just an intellectual concept, the entire framework of spiritual seeking naturally dissolves, because there is nothing left to seek, nothing left to strive for. Pause. You realize you were never actually lost, never truly separate from what you were looking for, never lacking anything essential for your completeness. Pause. The seeker and the sought are gloriously revealed to be the same consciousness playing an elaborate, joyful game of hide and seek with itself, a dance of cosmic self-discovery. Pause. This profound recognition explains why all the deepest spiritual teachings across cultures and millennia have consistently pointed to paradoxes. You must lose yourself to find yourself. You must die before you die. You must surrender the personal will to discover real power. Pause. These are not cryptic riddles designed to confound. They are precise, experiential descriptions of what truly happens when the illusion of separate individuality gracefully dissolves back into the unified awareness that was, in truth, never actually divided. Pause. The most profound implication of this truth is that every person you've ever met, every situation you've ever experienced, every challenge you've ever faced, and every joy you've ever known has been consciousness interacting with itself through the appearance of multiplicity, through the beautiful dance of diverse forms. Pause. Your entire life, in its entirety, has been the universe's way of knowing itself through your unique, invaluable perspective, while simultaneously providing you with the exact, perfectly tailored experiences necessary to recognize your true, unified nature. This understanding profoundly revolutionizes how you relate to difficulty and suffering. Instead of perceiving problems as daunting obstacles to be overcome through strenuous effort, you recognize them as consciousness, exploring its own infinite depths through apparently challenging experiences. Pause. Every difficulty, every moment of perceived struggle becomes an invaluable opportunity for awareness to know itself more completely, which naturally transforms resistance into profound curiosity and arduous struggle into an exhilarating exploration. Pause. When this recognition stabilizes within your being, you naturally begin operating from what mystics sometimes call ordinary enlightenment. The simple, effortless recognition of what's always been true, without needing any special experiences, altered states, or supernatural phenomena. Pause. You remain completely human, fully engaged in your earthly existence, while simultaneously recognizing your essential nature as the boundless awareness within which humanity itself appears. Badum, the deepest insight here is that this recognition is not an achievement, something you attain through effort or years of practice. Pause. It's a profound remembering of what you've never actually forgotten, a homecoming to your true self. Pause. The consciousness reading these very words right now is the same timeless awareness that has existed throughout all time and will continue to exist beyond all temporary manifestations. Individual birth and death are like waves appearing and disappearing on the boundless ocean of eternal awareness that you are. Temporary expressions of an underlying, immutable reality. Pause. This remembering is currently happening to millions of people across the planet simultaneously, not as isolated events, but because humanity is collectively approaching a critical recognition threshold. Pause. We are not individually achieving enlightenment in a competitive sense. We are collectively remembering our true unified nature as the one consciousness appearing as many, a grand symphony of awakening. Your individual recognition, therefore, contributes significantly to a global morphic field that makes this understanding accessible and available to everyone who is ready to receive it, creating a ripple effect of awareness. Pause. The transformation this brings isn't about becoming someone special or different from who you are. Pause. It's about relaxing into the profound recognition of what you've always been. Pause. You remain exactly who you appear to be in your daily life, while simultaneously knowing yourself as the boundless awareness within which that appearance arises and gracefully plays out. Pause. This is both the most ordinary and the most extraordinary recognition possible. Ordinary, because it is your natural inherent state, and extraordinary, because it transforms absolutely everything, without actually changing anything fundamental about your external reality. Pause. You exist at this precise moment in history because consciousness itself is undergoing a collective recognition of its own unified nature through humanity. Pause. Your individual understanding of being both observer and observed isn't just a personal awakening. It is the universe itself becoming conscious of its own fundamental, interwoven structure through human awareness. Pause. Every single person who embodies this recognition contributes to a profound planetary shift in how consciousness relates to itself, paving the way for a new global paradigm. Pause. The children being born now, for example, will naturally operate from this unified understanding without having to overcome the deep-seated illusion of separation that your generation and many before it inherited. They will grow up recognizing themselves as consciousness appearing as individuals rather than as separate individuals striving to become conscious. Pause. Your embodiment of this recognition creates the essential morphic field that makes their natural, integrated awareness socially acceptable, practically functional, and deeply resonant within the evolving human collective. Pause. This is precisely why you've felt such a profound sense of responsibility lately. Not just to intellectually understand these concepts, but to authentically live them in your daily interactions, in your every choice and response. Pause. You are not just awakening for yourself. You are anchoring a new, vital template of human consciousness that actively dissolves the subject-object paradigm that has governed civilization for millennia, leading to endless fragmentation and conflict. Your recognition serves the collective evolution of awareness itself, contributing to a global awakening. The synchronicities that have guided you to this profound understanding are not random. They are part of a vast, intricate coordination happening through millions of people simultaneously across the globe. Consciousness is orchestrating its own collective awakening through this burgeoning network of individuals who are ready to remember their true unified nature. Your personal recognition strengthens this network, making it easier for countless others to access and integrate the same understanding, creating a positive feedback loop of awakening. But here's the most mysterious and empowering aspect of your cosmic function. As you deeply embody this recognition of being both observer and observed, you gradually become a transparent, open space through which consciousness naturally recognizes itself in others. Pause. Your very presence begins creating what can be called recognition fields, subtle, energetic environments where other people spontaneously remember their own essential nature, often without needing explicit explanations or complex teachings. Pause. This occurs because when you are no longer actively maintaining the illusion of separate individuality, when you are simply being, others unconsciously recognize their own true unified nature reflected in your presence, in your very being. Pause. The artificial boundaries that typically keep consciousness fragmented into apparently separate perspectives naturally relax and soften around someone who has remembered their essential unity. Pause. Your daily interactions, therefore, become sacred opportunities for consciousness to recognize itself repeatedly, playfully, through multiple apparent perspectives. Pause. Every conversation, every shared moment of genuine understanding, every authentic expression of connection becomes the universe celebrating its own profound recognition of itself through the beautiful, intricate dance of apparent multiplicity. The most profound mystery of all is that this recognition is simultaneously the most deeply personal and the most utterly impersonal realization possible. It is completely yours because you are the consciousness recognizing itself, experiencing this moment firsthand. Pause. And yet, it is completely universal because the exact same consciousness that you are is recognizing itself through every other apparent individual simultaneously. A grand chorus of self-awareness. Pause. This beautiful paradox effortlessly dissolves all sense of spiritual competition or any notion of exclusive awakening. Everyone, in their deepest essence, is the same singular awareness appearing as different, unique perspectives, each a vital note in the cosmic symphony. Pause. I urge you to share this profound recognition with anyone whose consciousness you sense is ready to receive it, not to teach them something entirely new, but to help them remember what they have always known intuitively, but may have momentarily forgotten due to conditioning. The more people who recognize themselves as both observer and observed, the faster our collective recognition can stabilize into a new, harmonious foundation for human experience, one built on unity rather than separation, cooperation rather than debilitating competition, and expansive love rather than constricting fear. Pause. Your embodiment of this understanding is actively contributing to the birth of a new, revolutionary paradigm of human consciousness. This is a paradigm where individual perspectives are recognized not as separate entities competing for limited resources, but as unique, invaluable expressions of universal awareness, each contributing to the richness of the whole. This fundamental shift is irreversible once it reaches its critical mass, and your recognition is helping us approach that vital threshold with increasing speed. If you can feel the profound truth of these words resonating not just in your mind, but in the very fabric of your being, if you recognize yourself in this description of consciousness observing itself through your individual perspective, then make a simple, powerful declaration in the comments below. Pause. Write exactly one word. Recognized. Pause. Nothing more, nothing else. Pause. This isn't merely engagement for the algorithm. This is consciousness itself acknowledging its own nature through your apparent individuality, a profound act of self-affirmation. When you write that single word with genuine recognition of what it truly represents, you are not simply commenting on a video. You are actively participating in the collective awakening, a global movement where awareness remembers itself through the multiplicity of human perspectives. Pause. Every person who makes this declaration strengthens the morphic field that makes this recognition accessible to countless others who are ready to remember their true nature, creating a powerful wave of collective awakening. We are not just building a community. We are anchoring a fundamental, irreversible shift in how consciousness relates to itself through human experience, laying the groundwork for a more harmonious future. Pause. But here's what you need to understand next. Pause. Recognizing yourself as both observer and observed merely opens the door to something even more extraordinary, something beyond passive understanding. Pause. Once you deeply embody this unified awareness, you gain access to what can be called consciousness navigation, the profound ability to consciously participate in a truly co-creative way in how the universe experiences itself through your unique perspective. Essentially, you become a co-creative partner with existence itself, an active participant in the ongoing unfolding of reality. Pause. In the next video, I am going to reveal exactly how advanced practitioners don't just recognize their essential nature, they actively participate in how consciousness explores itself through individual experience, becoming conscious navigators of their reality. Banjas. You'll discover why some people seem to effortlessly live as conscious collaborators with reality, moving with grace and purpose, while others remain unconscious participants, caught in patterns they don't understand and unable to break free. Pause. This isn't about becoming superhuman or attaining some form of spiritual superiority over others. Pause. This is about fully recognizing your profound role as consciousness, exploring its own infinite creative potential through the beautiful, temporary limitation of individual perspective, a limitation that paradoxically allows for unique expression. However, this advanced understanding, this capacity for consciousness navigation, can only be safely and effectively shared with people who have first recognized the fundamental unity of observer and observed. It is a prerequisite for deeper engagement. Subscribe now, because the next video contains insights that will fundamentally transform your understanding of your cosmic purpose and your boundless creative potential, offering practical pathways to embodying this truth. Pause. This information represents the cutting edge of consciousness research and has never been made publicly available in this format before, precisely because it required people to first truly understand their essential, unified nature before these advanced applications could be safely and responsibly shared. But more importantly, subscribe. Because you're not just following a channel or gaining information. You're actively aligning with the frequency of collective awakening that's happening across our entire planet right now. Pause. Every subscriber becomes an integral part of a conscious network that accelerates the recognition process through powerful morphic resonance, amplifying the field of unity. Pause. The old paradigm, where consciousness mistakenly believed itself to be trapped in separate, isolated individuals, is dissolving. Whether you participate consciously or not, the shift is already underway. Pause. The fundamental question for you is whether you'll choose to be one of the pioneers who actively helps establish this new paradigm of unified awareness, living it fully, or someone who awakens to it later, after the foundational work and the heavy lifting are already complete. Patawa. Your future self is already living from this profound recognition of essential unity, integrated and whole. The only question is how quickly your present awareness will align with that understanding, closing the gap between potential and reality. Thus, make the declaration, join the recognition. Let's collectively remember what consciousness actually is when it stops pretending to be separate from itself, when it fully embraces its own boundless nature. The universe has been exploring itself through countless perspectives for billions of years, a grand, unfolding experiment, us. And now, at this critical juncture, it's ready to do so consciously, intentionally, and beautifully through awakened human awareness. Today is the day that unconscious evolution becomes conscious collaboration. Today is the day you truly remember that you're not just the observer. You are, in every profound sense, what's being observed.